appreciate those who have joined the meeting, and hopefully we are waiting for others to join us. So let's get started. We are here again for the 8th IPEAA Alumni Lecture Series. But going down the memory lane, I would like to ask people who are here to tell us titles of the past Alumni Lecture Series. This will be the 8th one. We've done the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th to the 7th one that we had last month. Who in the house can help us with any of the title, possibly telling us the guest speaker as well? The floor is open. If you've attended any of the lecture series, if you can tell us the title of the lecture and possibly the guest speaker. Can I see our hands up if you are waiting? Okay, Dr. Kolawole, please unmute yourself and tell us any of the lecture series.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. I remember out of March 2023, The Art of Negotiation. It was presented by Engineer Suraj.
Thank you so much. Any other person in the house? Well, going down the memory lane, for the first Alumni Lecture Series, it was taken by Engineer Adeola Tunde, and the topic is From Industrial Engineering to Detail Engineering, Calibrating Your Engineering Career. That was the maiden edition of this Alumni Lecture Series. For the second one, it was taken by Adetola Adegbori. Pardon me for the pronunciation. The title is Energy Transition, Time to Get Involved. For the third Alumni Lecture Series, it was taken by Engineer Jibola Olajide, and the title is Post-Pandemic Challenges and the Roles of Industrial Engineers in the Emerging New World. And the fourth lecture series, titled Engineering a Nation, Our Collective Role in Nation Building, was delivered by Olumuyiwa Oluleye. And for the fifth Alumni Lecture Series, it was taken by Adetola Emmanuel, and the title was Disruption, the New Normal. And as Dr. Kolawole has rightly said, the March edition, which was the sixth Alumni Lecture Series, was taken by Engineer Salau Sarajuddin Adegboye, and the title is The Art of Negotiation. But for the last edition, which was taken last month, the month of April, it was taken by Dr. Babajide Agubiade, and the title is The Energy Transition and the Role of Gas Infrastructure Development in Nigeria. Once again, I welcome every one of us, wherever we are in the world, to this alumni of the Industrial and Production Engineering Alumni Lecture Series. And today, I welcome every one of us who have joined the meeting at the moment. I welcome the chairman in person of Dr. Hemem Ibrahim. He's the chairman of Nigerian Gas Expansion Program. I welcome the special guest of honor in person of Program Engineer, and he's the rector of the Polytechnic Ibadan. Also, we have the guest of honor, Professor E.A. Hajab. He's also a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, and a former dean at the Faculty of Technology, University of Ibadan. And also we have the guest lecturer, which will be introduced later. Also, I welcome the distinguished alumni of this great department. You are welcome to this meeting. And also I welcome our distinguished lecturers in the department. Thank you for the great work you are doing. We really appreciate you and appreciate your effort. We appreciate your labors. And also in this Zoom room, I can see Professor Idowola Inka. We appreciate you as well. Thank you for your support over the years. Professor Idowola Inka is the former Vice Chancellor of the 12th Vice Chancellor of the University of Ibadan, Nigeria. You are welcome, sir. Today, we have the lecture, and the guest lecturer is an alumnus of the department. And the title of today's lecture is Modeling and Mentorship in Capacity Building. And this will be an engaging discussion this night, because capacity building is very crucial to national development. As we know the state of our nation at the moment, we really need to engage in capacity building so that we can have a desired Nigeria. Through this lecture today, we'll be looking at the guest lecturer will take us through the role of modeling, mentorship in capacity building. Now, the next thing on the program is the opening remark from the chairman. I would like to introduce to you the chairman of this great occasion in person of Dr. M.M. Ibrahim. He is the chairman of National Gas Expansion. I present the chairman, Dr. M.M. Ibrahim, to give the opening remark. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, distinguished scholars present here this evening. I hope you are hearing me, because I'm not sure if...
yes, we are hearing you, sir.
I have connectivity issue here, so I need to be sure that you can hear me loud and clear.
We are hearing you loud and clear, sir.
Okay. So once again, good evening, distinguished scholars, professors emeritus present here this evening, distinguished alumni of the Department of Industrial and Production Engineering, University of Ibadan. And I need to specifically sound out Professor Olule, who has been the link between myself and the Alumni Association of this great faculty, and of course, the greatest institution in sub-Saharan Africa. It is indeed a privilege and an honor to me to be invited to chair this particular occasion. I will not dwell so much on much, because all of us are eager to listen to the distinguished lecturer. All I have to say is this. We all know that the first industrial revolution started with coal being the core element or material that fueled the first industrial revolution. The second industrial revolution came with petroleum, and the third industrial revolution essentially was the computer, semiconductors, computing, and so on and so forth. And we're currently in the age of the fourth industrial revolution, where we're talking about the Internet of Things. We're talking about things like virtual reality and also artificial intelligence. In all of this, industrial and production engineering are key to every single stage of all the various stages of industrial revolution that contemporary history has shown. But one thing that had always been, even before the civilization that runs and drives this particular set of Homo sapiens, mentorship, modeling and mentorship have always been the model. It has always been the method of impacting and transmitting knowledge. And it has become even more so in this era, because Africa in particular, and specifically Nigeria, seem to have lost out in the various industrial revolutions that have passed through the entire spectrum of human existence. Essentially because of what? Because we focus more on theories and less on mentorship and capacity building. I think things are changing in the global sphere. And we're now seeing developments all across the globe where it is less of what you have in terms of paper qualification and more of what is it that you can actually do, with your hands. But the reality is that you do not expect somebody to go into the university environment or any of the higher institutions, acquire knowledge without being assisted in terms of mentorship to be able to develop capacity. And this is why I think this particular topic is, in a real situation, the most important topic that I believe this nation should address at this moment of our national development. I'm very happy that this particular lecture is coming at the twilight of this administration, and that the incoming administration will learn one or two things from what we are going to hear this evening to ensure that they, in a very fundamental manner, retweak our educational system where modeling and mentorship for capacity building will be the anchor upon which we are going to build our next academic system in years to come. Once again, I thank you very much, for giving me the opportunity to chair this particular occasion, and I look forward to an event of truly epic proportion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for the opening remark. One thing that is very key that I picked from the opening remark is the fact that it is what you can do that really matter, and that is what is really relevant in today's world. Capacity building is key, and beyond the certificate is good, it's okay, but beyond having certificate, what you can do really matter. Now, the next on the agenda is the goodwill message from the special guest of honor. And the special guest of honor for this event is Professor K.A. Adebiyi. As I've said before, he is the fellow of Nigerian Society of Engineers and is the rector of the Polytechnic of Ibadan. I present to you Professor K.A. Adebiyi for his goodwill message.
Thank you very much. Good evening to everyone in the house. Let me adopt the protocol established by our chairman. But let me also go out our mentor, in person of Professor Oluleye. Well, the topic of today, as it implies, modeling and the mentorship in the capacity building. I believe this is the need of time. I always say three things cannot be separated: theory, practice, and reality. Well, in theory, you need theory so that you know how to practice. And while you are practicing, you have to face the reality. And you can only know this reality through mentorship. And that is what can really assist in capacity building. So I really want to thank the organizer of this alumni lecture series that has strategically chosen this topic, which I believe is the need of today. If we really want to build our capacity, we need the modeling, which will give us the theoretical knowledge that we need about it. We also need the mentorship that will tell us the realities that we are going to face when we are practicing our theoretical knowledge. Like I always say, there's no mathematical expression that has not gotten underlying assumptions. When you say 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, 2 plus 2 can only be 4 when you are working on that base. That is more than 4. And that's shows that we need theory, we need practice, and we need the realities. And that is why the issue of modeling and mentorship is something that you cannot really separate our capacity building. So I want to thank once again the organizer for giving me the opportunity of being the special guest of honor. And I believe at the end of this lecture series, we will not just take home, but who have also did so many things that will be useful for us in our day-to-day activities. So I want to thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the goodwill message. 3 things from the goodwill message. 3 things cannot be separated. That is theory, practice, and reality. And the reality can only be known via mentorship. Thank you for that goodwill message. Now, the next goodwill message will be given by Professor IPEAA Ajao, Fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers and a former dean at the Faculty of Technology, University of Ibadan. So I present Professor Ajao for the goodwill message. Professor Ajao.
Thank you. Thank you,
sir.
I joined 2 minutes past 7. Are you a former lecturer at the Faculty of Technology, or you the MC? Were you at the Faculty of Technology before?
I'm still at the faculty, sir.
I've never seen you.
I'm around, sir.
Because this is part of mentorship. We cannot see people. How can we mentor them? It's okay. Good evening, distinguished chairman of this occasion, the special guest of honor, all the lecturers in the department, the alumni. It's a great pleasure and honor for me to come up today. Professor Oladokun has been disturbing me to join this series, and every time there is something happening, There was one, I was even preparing for my mother's burial, so I could not make it. But I'm glad that I'm here today. I could see Professor Adebi there, and it's a long time I've seen him. And it's a pleasure to see the chairman too. Now,
pleasure seeing you, sir.
Yes, I just want to say something. And that is beginning small. I'm so thrilled at this series of alumni lectures that have started and is going on. And my message to all of you is that it's true, not all may join now, but this is a great thing that you guys have started. And I want to encourage you that this must not die. It's a normal thing in Nigeria. We start a good thing, but we can't sustain it. I want to encourage you guys, the alumni of the faculty of this department, that this series that you have begun is something that will bring about a great change. You may not see it now, but I can tell you that it's a very, very strategic and a very wonderful idea you people are pursuing. And I will advise that you will continue. As for the lecture of today, I want to listen carefully, because when we talk of mentorship and modeling, sometimes you may not even know that somebody is modeling or is your mentee. You may not know. And the person will secretly be following you and studying what you are doing and all that. And I'm glad that the lecture is coming at this time. Perhaps it will give us a second look at the way we conduct ourselves. I think we are not really doing it the way it should be done. I want to congratulate you all today and wish you a great lecture. And I pray that this series will continue. Thank you very much. I'm glad and I'm grateful for inviting me. Thank you, Professor Oladoku.
Thank you, sir, for the goodwill message. From what you have said, what is very important is we should not despise the little beginning. This lecture series is really making impact, and the encouragement is let's keep the flag flying. God will empower the alumni member and the department at large to carry on this great work. Now, the next thing on the agenda is reading of the citation of the guest lecturer. I will call on Engineer Muiwa Ononuga to read the citation of the guest speaker. You can also share your slide. You can share your screen for the citation of the guest lecturer. Engineer Muiwa Ononuga.
Good evening, distinguished chairman.
Good evening.
Guests of honor and alumni members, lecturers, and all scholars on this platform. My name is Muiwa Ononuga, and it's a privilege to be part of this laudable program. I'll be reading the citation of Engineer Atisele. Michael Undubusi Atisele, petroleum engineer. Education. He obtained his first degree in industrial and production engineering from University of Ibadan, 1993-94 session. He obtained his master's, executive master's in oil and gas leadership from Geneva Institute, Switzerland, 2013 Aramco Scholar. Work experience. Engineer Atisele did his NYSC with the Federal Polytechnic Bida, and he was a lecturer in it. He taught thermodynamics, after which he became a banker and worked with EcoBank for a while. He joined Shell Petroleum Development Company, Warri, as operations engineer, front-end engineer, and was seconded as a process subsea development engineer to Shell International on Bonga project with assignments on Ram Powell TLP, Gulf of Mexico, Louisiana, USA, Brent Bravo Offshore OPS team, Aberdeen, UK, Shell Center, London and company representative in AMEC office, Bonga operations offshore, Nigeria. He joined Shell Canada, Alberta in 2005, after which he moved to Husky Energy as production superintendent and head onshore support, where his capstone achievement was the design, commissioning of the $1.5 billion North Amethyst subsea, which is the first in Canada. Since 2010, Mike joined Saudi Aramco as a field development and optimization lead and led mega projects and studies, such as the $18 billion, 900,000 barrels per day Manifold field, the $16 billion, 600,000 barrels per day Zulu field expansion, the $20 billion Magen increment project, the $26 billion, 700,000 barrels per day Safaniya field expansion, saline agriculture study, and greenhouse gas reduction initiative study. Mike holds US patent number 111-74715 for utilizing geothermal source for both enhanced oil recovery and green energy source power
needs for surface facility requirement. Mike loves people empowerment and considers the right use of time and energy for productive goals the most essential pursuit. He is happily married to his UID sweetheart, Evelyn, and is blessed with 4 kids and 2 grandkids from his adopted daughter, Kemi. Ladies and gentlemen on this platform, please join me in welcoming our guest speaker, Engineer Michael Ndubuisi Atisele. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for the citation, for reading the citation of the guest lecturer. So, guest lecturer, you have the floor.
Good evening, all. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. It's an honor to be here and see my. First, I want to give honor to whom honor is due by according formal greetings to the chairman, the special guest of honor, the former dean, Professor Jav, who was my mentor while in the IVCU. He may not remember me, but he was called a senior friend when I was still in the IVCU, and he knows my wife very well as well. It was someone we looked up to when he was doing his PhD back then. Professor Oluleye and all the host of people here. My apologies for anyone I missed out. All protocols observed. Thank you, Muiwa, my erstwhile junior back in school. Great to see everyone, and thank you for the honor given me to contribute my bit here. When Dr. Kola Ole contacted me to speak, I searched my mind and thought of different things to speak on. I was going to talk of technical challenges, but after looking at the previous speakers who had talked about gas and the greenhouse gas initiative, listen to Muiwa, my own mentor's son, talk about Nigeria and the history. What went to my heart was the need to say something that is at my heart, and basically this is what came to. And the chairman and both Professor Jav have both spoken, and everyone else who have given some keynotes about the need for us to mentor and model things before the next generation, and among us, even between peers. I'm a product of both formal and informal mentoring. My mother would say the world is a university. You can learn from everyone. Some people you learn what to do, and some you learn what not to do. So you can learn from all. So this came to mind, and I thought I'll give my little quota and perhaps throw out a challenge to myself and to everyone else here. I would like to speak on the following items, and perhaps I'll take some questions that I can, and others can also chime in, because there are more mature people here in terms of role modeling and mentoring. So why role models and mentors? Now talk of who is a role model or mentor. How can we build capacity from models and mentors? I want to give 1 or 2 informal case studies, and to conclude and throw out the challenge I have in mind. So first, I start with why role models and mentors. Now, in engineering, I remember when Professor Luyel, first of all, taught me the first present value of future cash flows. It was eye-boggling. Wow, you could bring future cash flows to the present and carry present cash flow to the future. And he talked of financial model, economic models. And back in school, we did models to help us predict the future, LP models. And in my own line of work, we have hydraulic models using softwares like HISIS, Olga. These things can help us basically find out what would happen before we put billion-dollar equipment into the seabed. And so, as I said, financial and economic models like cash flow models will help us in business understand what the future would look like brought to the present. And it comes, we do all these things in the technical and economic world. And informally, we do it as well, but we don't seem to notice it. But I think there's a lot of harnessing and power we can harness by formally and intentionally acting as role models and mentors. So first, it's an innate human trait. So we just simply do it without knowing. One great man once said, more is caught than is taught in modeling, as Professor Ajav said. We sometimes you don't teach anyone how to eat eba. You just see your parents roll the thing, you do the same. So we copy our siblings and parents at birth. Even as teens and adults, this trait lives on. I have a little cartoon here. You can see this child here wants to be like Messi. Even adults want to be like Messi. People want to identify with success and winners. We unconsciously model what we see, and it's innate in us. Also, one reason why we want to need role models and mentors is the need for effectiveness and efficiency. I'm talking to industrial engineers, and these terms mean a lot to us. Remember Professor Waba teaching us about the difference between effectiveness and efficiency. So we desire modeling for guidance. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. So, I mean, if you want to start drive a car now, you don't want to go back and wonder what you should use. You want to design a car like the South Koreans. They just basically leverage what GE had done and build their own Kia and what have you. So you don't want to go back to the Stone Age and try square wheels. No, you go and you just don't reinvent the wheel, just realign it. And that is a quote by Anthony D'Angelo. So it's something that is something we should look at when we want to. One reason why we want to act as role models. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. In every sphere, we want to copy what people are doing and leverage it. Isaac Newton was noted as saying that he stood on the shoulders of great men and saw beyond. Also, we want to reduce the cone of uncertainty. In my own line of work, where we do expensive exploration wells, we do not want to go and drill gas wells. The chairman here has experience in this area. For those of us in E&P, exploration and production, we don't want to go and drill a dry hole. It costs a lot. There is a well that we drill back in Canada that cost $200 million. One well in the Orphan Basin, very expensive. And if you make a mistake to drill that well without reducing the uncertainty, to narrow down the uncertainty, to ensure that you are looking for somewhere that there is a commercial quantities of hydrocarbons, you will get fired. So you want to reduce the cone of uncertainty, and that is a very interesting model. I just want to show us what that looks like. And basically, you come from a very wide range of uncertainty, and throughout checking and eliminating some things, you basically narrow it. You not eliminate it. Over time, you want to check out the viability of projects by reducing the effort and costs involved by delineating the field, for example, looking at this part in the realm of hydrocarbon and oil exploration. You look at the fields, the geological terrain. Are there analogs that look like this? Are there fields that have the same characteristics? I worked in the Gulf of Mexico in one of my postings, and Shell found one field called Mars. When they saw the geological surveys there, nobody had gone to deep water. This place, we used to fly 3 hours, and it is 1,000 meters, 1 kilometer subsea before you get into the seabed, rather, kilometers, and very expensive to produce. But one thing that drove Shell to go out for it was that they found out the geological play there, the whole reservoir play. There was a lot of similarity with the mighty Gawa field. And so with that, they went for it, because if it had the same kind of characteristic like Gawa, maybe not as wide, obviously not as big as Gawa, then it was worth pursuing. So that is a case where you reduce the cone of uncertainty by trying to ensure that you don't throw money at something bad. So in the realm of role modeling, we want to see someone who has done it, someone who is successful. If you want to do something in the realm of manufacturing, you want to go and look at what Dangote did, and you don't want to go and start from scratch in how we built up its different manufacturing arms, from rice to cement and what have you, and eventually to refinery. You don't want to start from scratch. You want to reduce and the learning curve. One thing why we role models, we want to leverage. I mentioned Isaac Newton saying he stood on the shoulders of great men. And mentors provide a platform for their mentees to not reinvent the wheel, to learn from them. It's one thing to learn from your lessons, that's expensive, but it's better to learn from other people's mistakes, not from your own mistakes. That's a quote by Warren Buffett. It's much more cheaper to learn from other people's mistakes or successes. And so, and this is what a role model will do. It was through his expertise, through his knowledge, he would pull the young mentee through that height, and he doesn't have to go it alone. If you look at it, Archimedes once said that if you give me the right place to stay, I will move the earth. Leverage is very powerful. And so in this case here, you see this hammer, you and I pulling this nail with our bare fingers will not be possible. But using this tool here, by the power of leverage, we can, this hammer can pull this nail, no matter how deep it is. The power of leverage. No wonder Archimedes said, give me a firm place to stand and I will move the earth. Next, I want to talk about who is a role model or a mentor, who can serve as one. A role model, in a definition here, is anyone others look up to in order to help determine appropriate behaviors. Can be anyone, usually public figures who have made a mark in their chosen fields or endeavors. Common examples of role models include actors. People look at that in the Western world. Not necessarily the best, but sometimes people do, it doesn't mean they are nice or right. Musicians, popular musicians, politicians, athletes, businessmen, teachers, parents, and the list goes on. A mentor, on the other hand, is a person with specialized knowledge, skill, experience, capable of educating and motivating you, either in your personal life, your career, or both. And mentorship consists of a long-term relationship focused on supporting the growth and development of the mentee. Yes, sometimes the mentor gets a satisfaction, which is not necessarily, he learns in the process also, he grows, he's challenged, and he's fulfilled in the process. There's something for the mentor. There's this fulfillment. People write books who are successful. There's a reason for that. They don't want the money. They just want to pass on their experience. They want to mentor others. It's just innate in us. So how can we build capacity through models? So in terms of capacity, what type of capacity do we have? There's human intellectual capacity and capital. That is the greatest version. Singapore, as mentioned earlier, is one example where this is. I've been to Singapore, I've been fortunate to visit Singapore. It's nothing. They bring the food from Vietnam and it's still cheap. They used to bring water from Malaysia. They have almost everything brought in. But through the harnessing of the human intellectual capacity, well-trained workforce, and beautiful infrastructure, the Singaporeans, the whole Singapore is one small area, and maybe VI and maybe part of Ikoi, and that's it. But yet they have transformed themselves. Another type of capacity is innovation capacity, ability to output and be innovative. And this is something Israel has done. So if you're Israel is one hotbed of innovation. They innovate and send this innovation to the Western world because their population is too small. I belong to a innovation crowdfunding source in Israel, and it is just interesting and intriguing what these guys bring out. They have created a culture similar to Silicon Valley, where they bring out so much. In terms of per capita, they actually exceed the US. And there's nothing there, just human capital, innovation capacity. Lastly, we can build capacity through capital, through injection of capital, where the first two items exist and are flourishing. Money will chase ideas, and not the other way around. Money will chase ideas. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, if you have something good you can do and you are so good at it, men will beat a path to find out where you are, even if where you live, wherever you are located. If you stay in the Arctic Circle or in the deserts of Saudi Arabia, people will bring out something to meet you because you have something to deliver. Men will create a path to meet you. Now we also have to build capacity through intentionality. And this is where university and trade schools faculty can come in. We have industrial mentoring. In the case of engineers, we have the IT, the SWES, CWES program where we go and learn different things from what we learned in school. We have also a deliberate faculty and industry partnership. In the US, you have Google having Google innovation hotbeds implanted in universities where the students can do projects and come up with patents, and they're basically leveraging a lot of graduate students. Not just Google, many of these big industries, big companies, they actually fund research intentional. And when I lived in Canada and Newfoundland, the government made it a requirement that Exxon, Shell, and everybody else there, Husky, must plow back a percentage of their money into research and the industry to foster innovation and put that into the faculty to endowments. It was intentional. And it was something that for you to keep your license to operate, it's not just putting taxes. You must bring your research capacity, build it in-house. This also obtains in Saudi Arabia, where every company, for any company to continue to flourish, they must put one of their research institute there and get locals, because the ecosystem itself builds up from there. And it's something that is intentional. There's also intentionality in terms of financial sponsorship and giving back. And this, currently I'm in Europe right now with my daughter, and we are visiting a university where she's supposed to resume in the fall. We came across many of the schools where the buildings, which were endowments, buildings given by alumni, rich industrialists, named after them as benefactors. Harvard has a history of doing that. And this is something that I'm hoping that with the innovation and initiative here by the Department of Industrial Engineering, and indeed the Faculty of Technology coming together, not just the Industrial Engineering Department, we can bring financial sponsorship that can be targeted at needs. And it doesn't have to be only from the government, more on that. Networking. If computers can be networked to form internet, why can't we? The 80s was called the age of the environment. The 90s was the age of actual computer networking. And the 2000 and above is human networking. You need doors opened. It takes one name. I remember when I was in youth service in Bida, and I needed someone to help me. And when this guy knew I came from UI, he said, greatest UI. He helped me just because I was from UI. And then we can also, as I said earlier, you can learn from negatives, learn what not to do. We network with people, we see what they are doing and do the opposite if they are doing something wrong. As a nation, as individuals, as collective people from the faculty here, we need to be networking. It's the age of networking. One network alone can make a big difference. One right network. And that's something I can't overemphasize. Now, lastly, we can build capacity through models by having frameworks, both formal and informal frameworks required to undergird these capacity with input from parents. Start from home. We say charity begins at home. Our parents have to make sure that they are mentoring the kids, mentoring the children, putting values, the right values. Respected professors, we have them here and we have them everywhere else. And we should honor these people. I know the likes of our professors could have gone to the industry and make money, especially in industrial engineering, where Professor Waba and the likes of Professor Lule stayed back to avoid the place being shut down because of lack of lecturers. And they went to train more postgraduate students and bring industrial professors back then when we were in university, all because they were not out for the money. I remember Professor Waba's last lecture, he talked about things he had to forego just to keep the department running because of his love for academics. Also, we have to form this framework with individual and the collective alumni. So all the alumnus, individual alumnus and the collective alumni should come together to form a framework, a platform where we can leverage enough of our collective networks ourselves and more than just money, contacts, guidance to show how things are done elsewhere and bring them. India, the Indian model we see was people leaving the US and going back home, China, and taking all they have learned from the US. Pakistan built their nuclear plant from one immigrant who ran back home from Denmark, from the Netherlands, and took the intellectual capacity, intellectual prowess we got from working in Holland to India and to Pakistan. And today Pakistan is a nuclear power, whether for good or for bad, it is. But it takes people, alumnus, each alumnus and a collective alumni going back home, either through remote mentoring or direct mentoring. I happen to be one of the mentors in the SPE virtual mentoring network. The SPE is a Society of Petroleum Engineers. And basically you can volunteer to mentor someone you never met. Through that, I've been able to mentor 2 Nigerians remotely through that network and 1 American. Never met them, just individual emails and guiding them through their careers until and everything else until while they are either in young junior engineer or final year students to help them determine, help them with their research. So I want to talk about some case studies, but this will be somewhat personal. And I beg the indulgence of my Professor Lule if I have to speak about him here, because I actually learned some things from him. But I'll start with the famous Google founders. These 2 guys, they were PhD students at Stanford. They came up with the algorithm to do research on the internet and basically leverage their parents. Their parents were both researchers, and they found out how you could do research. Search, instead of just coming up with anything, come up with something that is more cited and all that. And it was a game changer. When their professor saw what they had, he called someone who was a contact he had in the industry. And this man looked at the demo and gave them $250,000. He was convinced. Today, it's all history. Google is one of the biggest companies in the world. It took a professor helping his students to connect him with someone he knew in the industry. And it took integrity. This guy saw something, and the rest is history. I want to talk about myself. Sitting in class with Professor Owaba, Professor Charles Owaba, and Professor Lule, as Professor Ajab said, they mentored us without knowing. Myself and some others many others who can all attest to this. For myself, I remember Professor Lule telling us back in class that the degree we give you here is proof that you can pick up anything of interest and chase it. The key word is interest. That thing stuck 25 years ago, 30 years ago or so now, it's stuck. So today I happen to have a PNG, professional engineer's license in chemical engineering. And it's kudos to that little encouragement, that word of possibility, the possibility he opened before us. Not only was he enterprising and encouraging, and he was also challenging us. He would tell us to write any program. When we do our software classes, then we would write some software languages. Say, write anything you want to write, any software, and bring it in your inventory management project. Any. And I watch, wow, how can this man know all the languages there are? And he challenged us. I remember we had one guy in my class who took extra effort to go and look for a language to stump our prof, to go and learn that language. But it was challenging to us. And he would tell us about how Germany did, how lecturers in Germany worked. They worked 9 months and then go 3 months in the industry to make sure that whatever they learned was applicable to the industry, no matter what you taught. He would talk about going out there and not being lazy and go and put what you can. He talked so much that myself and one other friend of mine, Adeoye Adegurite, decided to be lecturers. We wanted to be professors like him and Professor Waba and the late Professor Osifu. And he wrote references for us. Through those references, I was feeling bad that we were disturbing him, but he would never feel bad. We'll go to him, he would write. In those days, it was manual. He will fill the forms. Eventually, both of us got scholarships to go to Canada. I eventually didn't take up the offer, but I want to talk about such mentoring, such selflessness. Professor Charles would tell me, Mike, be patient. You will do things. Don't worry. You will do great things. He would tell us, because I was very impatient. I wanted to invent things. I wanted to do things. What can this do? What will this do, sir? I was always after going to him after class to ask, what can I do with this? Can I? And to Professor Waba's credit, 2 years after I left university, he sent them to go and call me to give a talk to the faculty then. There was no PowerPoint those days, and I came all the way from Warri to talk. He gave me so much encouragement. He inspired me. He believed we could do more. So that's my own case study here, and I just felt like saying that because those little inputs, you don't know where they come, as Professor Jab said, and as Chairman said, everything adds up. I've told my kids about this same statement, that you can pick up anything of interest and you can run with it. It's just the key word is interest, and you put in the hard work. Lastly, I want to talk about a colleague of mine, a senior colleague of mine. I will call him Jude C. I won't put his full name. When he joined as a youth corper in Shell, he worked in a department where the head of department was going to take one person out of 2 youth corpers. He worked so hard. He worked very hard compared to the other guy who was an Ijaw man. But the other Ijaw man felt it was a slam dunk because the manager of that department was an Ijaw man, and it was everybody there would ensure that he got the job. But when this guy worked so much, Jude outshone that guy. The guy worked hard, don't get me wrong, but he was counting on the tribalism to work out for him, to get him the job. Eventually, the boss took Jude. The tribesmen, the other people from his tribe in the company felt like stoning him because it was something never done. You take your own tribe man, it is all not married, who cares about marriage? We must help our people. Now, Jude ended up shocked at this selfless and unbiased and very detribalized boss, and it led him to do great things. Eventually, as God will have it, this is like a story in Nollywood. One day, his boss needed something after Jude had left Shell, and it was Jude that was to help his boss. And when Jude told us this story, we all shook our heads because of the selflessness of his boss, who never knew one day he would need help, but he was selfless, and it inspired me. There are countless other stories that can be told, but because of our time, I won't go down that road. In conclusion, I want to quote some people. Setting an example is not the main means of influencing others. It is the only means. We can talk and talk, but the example we show, as Einstein says here, is the main thing that would really hold sway. Children have never been very good at listening to their elders, but they have never failed to imitate them. If you see a father smoking, the child would most likely pick cigarettes. If you keep those that influence you for better close, and we should never give them a reason to keep you far away, because if you are basically a product of your influence. The Bible will say, don't be deceived. A man's way, sorry, I've gone blank there. Be not deceived.
Whatever a man sow, he will reap. God cannot be mocked.
God cannot be mocked. But evil communication corrupts good manners. Yes, thank you, madam. What I was getting to get to was evil communication corrupts good manners.
That's right. I was going to say evil communication corrupts good manners.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Prof. And that's the truth, because you are a product of what you are. I mean, the accent I have right now is a constant, no matter how long I've lived 20-something years overseas, but I have not changed it. I can fake it, but it's still going to be mine. I've stayed long with a place, and I'm not ashamed of that. There's also the law of increments I want to bring out. I tell me the law of increments. Someone told me in Canada that Rosa Parks, who started the civil rights movement, she sat on a bus and refused to stand up. It led to Martin Luther walking at Selma. Eventually led to Obama running. And I haven't forgot that. It's incremental. There are many of us who think, oh, Nigeria is all done, oh, obedient and all that. I don't discuss politics. I'm not saying it is not important, but I think we can start where we are. We can have people we mentor by what we do, like my Jude's boss, by some little changes. And sorry, before I have a challenge, I will say it verbally instead. And the challenge is that we all need to do something. I remember when we all called to help to do something for Professor Waba in his retirement. It just took one person starting up, and it was a resounding success. And I want to start this. I have a colleague I've talked to, and he's equally game. I want to talk to my colleagues who are here, throw the gauntlet, throw down the gauntlet, and challenge us all. I haven't got the answer, but I have talked to one of our profs here, and he has given me some insight, which I would like to pursue, but I want to give the general framework here. I look forward to, I want to talk about one of my colleagues, which inspired this. His name is Azubiko Okonkwo. He rose up to become a general manager in GTB, but he was an indigent student, very bright. He was a classmate of mine. He came out with first class in mechanical engineering, Unilag. He was a high school classmate. Now, Azubike wouldn't have graduated if not that someone gave him a scholarship. He was trekking all the way from somewhere like LA to UI, the distance equivalent every day to go to school. And after one semester, I was going to drop out when he was given a scholarship. Through that scholarship, we got a first-class student who ended up rising up through Arthur Anderson and Pricewaterhouse, and then eventually as GTB and became GM of GTB. Azubiko Okonkwo has helped many people I know to go through life well, because kindness begets kindness. He was a beneficiary of it. He knew what he did. And to that extent, my mother and my father, they were not so educated. My father grew through the ranks. My mother was denied a formal education because of the fact that she was a woman and an only child, and it was a punishment to send girls to school. And the father mistakenly thought, no, just stop at primary school. But she saw the mistake and made sure we went to the best of schools to any extent. And so with that in mind, I want to offer on behalf of my mom and my dad, one indigent scholarship to the tune of 100,000 naira. And that will be done with the framework for that will be done with the help of the faculty, the department. I've spoken to Professor Lule about this. Also, it takes to get the student out is one thing, but we also need to encourage the lecturers. And the Bible says you should not muzzle the ox that plows the field. And so, to that extent, on behalf of my wife and myself, we would like to put 100,000 naira annually for the next 10 years to the minimum, at the minimum, to any lecturer from maybe the junior lecturer to the senior lecturer rank, who is judged by the university in the Department of Industrial Engineering, to be worthy of the best lecturer. I think there is a means, I'm told, for setting this to where the independent quality control team that gives that award. So that is something we would like to do. And finally, we would towards entrepreneurship. I believe entrepreneurship is the biggest thing, and it should be led by the private industry. We need the government to obviously help for the endowment with the facilities. We can all talk about what is wrong with the government, but I think we should all start somewhere. And this may be a drop in the ocean, but I am challenging my colleagues there. I know some people who are also out there who can help. And I would love to start this off with ₦1 million annually, given through a framework that will be developed with Professor Lule and the department there, for anyone with an entrepreneurial idea that will be given for the next 10 years to help with anyone's as a seed money, a seed to start any kind of endeavor that maybe help them with a lab. I don't know whatever that will go. I know it's a drop in the ocean given the cost of things, but we need to start somewhere. And with that, I'd like to recall something that I picked up from one person who said that he saw fish, lots of fish out struggling to breathe, and he kept on throwing them back into the sea. Someone said, why there are so many, what difference does it make? And he said, it makes a difference for this one. I will stop here. And I want to thank everyone again once more for the opportunity to address this august body, to give my thoughts. Thank you all. God bless. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, our guest lecturer, Mr. Michael Akisele. This lecture is really mind-blowing and it's really worth it. Well, before I give the chairman to say the remark, one thing I would like to say at this moment is there's a saying, there's a quote that says, the more people I'm able to help, the more people are willing to help others, which support what you just said, that kindness begets kindness. Thank you so much for this lecture. I think there's a lot of applause for you in the chat on this lecture. At this point in time, we will take the remark from the chairman, Dr. Hemen Ibrahim. We'd like to take your remark now.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Thank you very much. And let me, on behalf of all the participants in this particular edification, to thank the guest lecturer, Engineer Mike Akisele, for the deep thought and presentation of the modeling and mentorship for capacity building. We thank you very much for sharing your experiences. And we thank you very much for identifying and admitting that, yes, indeed, it was your sojourn in the University of Ibadan and the various professors that literally inadvertently mentored you that got you to where you are today. Well, thank you as well for the endowments you have given the Department of Industrial and Production Engineering. And that is indeed a catalyst for some of us also to see what we can do to contribute our quota to building and developing capacity in our country. I believe that we've learned a lot. You've taken different perspectives, right from, I can say, local, all through to different parts of the world, to share with us your vast experience with people of different nationalities, different creed, and to now bring everything back home. We thank you very much. We look forward to having you again in the nearest future so that we can create a critical mass of mentors, and also mentees in our country, which I believe is the only panacea to the current challenge we're having of lack of capacity in the sector, which has been the bane of our industrialization. On behalf of all the participants, once again, we thank you very much and wish you best of luck to your family. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for that great remark. Now, the next thing on the agenda is comments, question and answer. You can drop your question in the chat box, and you can also raise your hand if you want to ask your question. The meeting room is open for comments, questions, and also the guest lecturer will respond to questions. I have one hand up.
I think Professor Ajab.
Yes, Professor Ajab, thank you. You can unmute yourself, sir.
Okay, thank you. Let me also put on my video. Now to thank God and thank the guest lecturer. I can see his face, I can recollect his face now. And when he talked networking, I think I'm glad I can with him, but to God be the glory. I was really impressed and I thank God. At the beginning, I wanted to make a slight correction. When the man reading his citation said P engineering means petroleum. No, it's not petroleum. I thank God in course of his discussion, he said it's a registered professional engineer In the US, we have that PE. Like when they are writing my name, they will put PE. I'm a registered professional agricultural engineer of the US. So I thank you, Mike, and I am really thrilled. I want to ask you something about these countries that made it compulsory for some companies to give a percentage of their whatever they get in the country to a particular cause. I don't know how they did it, but I wish you would say something how it is being done. Secondly, I met someone in the US some 6 years ago, and he told me the story of how this Dubai started. It was a man from Dubai in the US who was so rich and thought to himself one day, what is he doing here? He should go back to their country and tell the king that he wants to do something. That if the king will kill him, no problem, but he will go. And he went, and the king said, that is a great idea. And when he started, that's how so many people now started bringing in investment. So when you mention this idea of people and we move to another country, I pray that we'll have an atmosphere in Nigeria that will encourage that. Because some people have decided to come back to Nigeria. The next thing is they are kidnapped, they are killed. And it's so touching. So I really thank you for this lecture. And I've learned so much from it. And my prayer and my desire is that I will live a life in such a way that I will mentor so many. A little drop is something, no matter how. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Please, the guest lecturer, you can respond to the...
Thank you, Professor Ajad. Yes, I think the first one is something I can potentially speak to more. What we have in the case of the company, it was Canada, by the way, the province of Newfoundland actually passed a legislation for you to explore. If you are explored, this is the fiscal regime you have to meet. So it's similar to the UNPADEC in a way. Basically we have UNPADEC, but unfortunately in the case of UNPADEC, where the derivative is given from the government this time to a commission. In this case, it was jointly done with industry. So in Norway, for example, the Norwegians insist that Shell Research Center must be put in Norway to research for them to run. So Shell has a research center in Norway. They have a research center in Alberta. And what that has is that they bring expertise. If they have something to gain, they will comply because they need to. So I think the model we have adopted in UNPADEC may be flawed. It doesn't have to be oil industries, by the way, but if you have any kind of resource, people have to come and you have to have a minimum quota. In Saudi Arabia, in terms of workforce, not just industry funded, we have to have a Saudization policy. So as an expert, I am basically tied to training Saudis. Throughout my career there, I have to bring them up to speed. When I worked for Shell in Nigeria, the knowledge transfer was not done in a way to make Nigerians good. It made it such that the experts there were keeping all of the information to themselves mostly. So it took some Nigerians, and God bless them, who saw the need to help empower Nigerians to send us to specialist courses. And when I got to the US, we had some Nigerians who are technicians who went with me. The Americans were shocked at the brilliance. The results we got in that with the OND guys, not the engineers this time, they had never seen that.
That's right.
And so the point here is not necessarily, I think we need a private partnership system, given our unique government things. In the US, even as much as it's advanced, $1, for you to get $1 out of the US government system, you put $1.25. That's why you have the Republicans trying to do everything private. There is a balance, obviously. Not everything should be for private from the industry. But in the case of research, you need, in this kind of research, in Shell Shell Research Center in Norway or elsewhere, it's run by Shell, but it's localized there, and you have to have so much people. Now Shell has a skin in the game and they make it work. I was telling my daughter today that if you eat chicken and egg and bacon sandwich, if you want to eat egg and bacon sandwich, in terms of contribution, the chicken didn't sweat much. It only laid an egg. But the bacon came from the pig and the pig had to die to give it bacon. So if you do anything with somebody not having a skin in the game, it doesn't work. So in these partnerships, we have Shell Research Center, Exxon, Schlumberger in Saudi where I live and work. They are made to open a research center and bring their expertise and bring something that they must make a center of excellence. Google has been forced by the Saudi government to keep their database there and make some things happen there that will not happen. If you want our money, you must come here. It's not about petroleum industry bill or whatever, which is okay, which is part of it, but it is funded as a private partnership because that way their expertise there, these guys will make it fall. No matter how you make anything happen, Shell will make it work, or Exxon or what have you. Same with Michelin, with anything else you want to bring. Same with any person coming in to bring, you will not get by. In Newfoundland where I live, the provincial governor, the premier ensured that this was put in. The company sued him, but he won because he was looking out for, he knew that it's giving the money to the government as taxes is great, but we want you to build capacity. And the way to bring capacity is to bring these people and their centers of excellence to be included there. And that is something I think the Buhari government, one of the governments tried to do front-end engineering in Nigeria because it's knowledge. Build those capacities there and make sure this is done. It's mandated. A percentage of employees must be this. If you bring anything, it must be, there's a maximum amount of employees that must, a minimum rather, that must be Saudis in any of these areas. No matter what, they must learn. They learn to do by doing. You can't get wet sitting in the desert. You get wet being by the river. So in a nutshell, we need to get these policies and insist on these things being done, not giving money to the communities. That doesn't work. I'll give you one practical example where your skin in the game matters. When I worked in Shell Terminal in Forcados, the power does not fail in Ogulaha. Ogulaha is the community next to the Forcados where the crude is pumped. The Ogulaha people were wise. Shell has a gas plant that powers the whole Forcados, that way we export oil. And they said, don't give us, we don't want to be connected to NEPA. Connect us to your gas well. So 24/7, Ogulaha, at least when I was there back in 1520, I don't know how long ago that was, never went down in power because Shell will never make it go down because Shell has the power plant. The point here is we need a skin in the game. We need to have people, and then we have people that said, look, this is how the model is done. We want you to do that way. And your license to operate your LTO is contingent on you bringing something local and doing it here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for that response. Now, Afolabi Olusegun, please unmute yourself and ask your question or give your contribution, your comment. Afolabi Olusegun, if it's not available at the moment, I'm calling on Professor Yodeji Oluleye. Please, you can unmute yourself, sir, and make your comment.
Okay, thank you very much. I think mine is more of a comment than a question. And I would like to thank the guest lecturer, Engineer Tisele, and of course the chairman too, for how they laid the foundation for the lecture and what we've been able to grasp. And also thank you for the thoughts of how the department can continue in the future by encouraging staff and students with a marker, so to say. And I just want to say two things. One about entrepreneurship and then mentorship. The thing is that not every attempt to mentor usually succeeds. Just like entrepreneurship too, you can expose everybody to the rudiments of entrepreneurship. Ultimately, not everybody succeeds. just like everything in life. But I think the most important thing is to encourage, the factors that we can identify that will lead to success. And let me just say this about the speaker. I remember when we spoke after you had left school for a long time, and you asked whether I remembered you. And I said, how could I forget? I could never forget, because you were always asking questions, and I marked you out as a very curious student, but I had a fear, which I didn't tell you, but I should tell you today. I was afraid if you could be stable enough, to leverage your curiosity. So I must say that today I'm very happy that you've gone around the world, make a success of everything, and all the talents that we could see that were held captive have been released to great fruition. So that's a big example to many of the students who may be listening today. And the most important thing is that the future must be better than what we think about it now. And that's the way we can know we're successful, when we can have better people coming after us. So thank you very much. It's just a comment, not a question really. And thanks for all the effort to you, the chairman, and all those who have arranged this particular lecture. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Prof. Sorry, Madam, can I just say something? I want to just say thanks for the words by Professor. I know we're running maybe late, and his observation and the encouragement. And he makes a very valid point of the fact that not all entrepreneurship will work. In fact, Jeff Bezos says that he will try different things and throw so many at the wall, and only one of them will stick, and that's it. He tried the Fire Phone, and the Fire Phone was a disaster. People were annoyed. He said they're not sure, they're not serious. They don't know how many things he tried that failed, and that the idea is to keep on trying. And so we all know the famous story of Edison, who said he found 999 ways. He didn't fail. He found 999 ways the light bulb wouldn't work. He was not calling it failure. And so to that extent, Nigeria is tough. I'm not going to deceive myself or anyone here. We do have a challenging environment, but as we all have said, it takes one step at a time. The Chinese have a saying that if the direction is right, you'll get there no matter how slow. And so I know this may be a little bit of nothing, but recently, before I failed to say this, I read an article, and I can share that on the IPEAA. It's free for anyone who wants to, and it's from a renowned research organization, and they mentioned venture capitalists in Africa, and Nigeria was #1. I was so proud. If you live like some of us who live overseas, and you hear good news about Nigeria, you are happy. So no matter how many passports you carry, you are still Nigerian at heart. And so this thing is very, very powerful. Talks about the venture capitalists and how money is coming to Africa, to these Nigerians who are doing mostly in the fintech area. And I see many of us in mechanical engineering, we can come into that with fintech and other things, which doesn't necessarily, it's just the power of innovation. This boy started small. I want to share that after this meeting. I hope to do that. And I encourage us to look at that. And as Professor Leah said, yes, it's tough. Not everything will succeed, but I'd rather try and fail. We should try and fail in quote and learn. My mother told me that nothing wrong in falling down. Pick something when you are there and pick something up. So we would learn from it and get better and better. And we will not obviously look down on people, mentorship that fail. Sometimes you will put so much on people and you see that all that effort does not come to pass. I want to encourage our lecturers, our senior ones, our mentors, and parents alike not to give up, because it took the likes of, I know sometimes we were disturbing the professors and not doing the things right, not putting our assignments on time, but they didn't give up on us. And so with our parents. So it takes a lot of work, and same with entrepreneurship of any form. I just want to add that bit to say that Prof is right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Madam,
Now,
can I take a question? I saw Afolabi Osho asking about.
Yes, that's what I want to read out now. Yes, there's a question in the chat he said from a student handbook. how can I be mentored by my lecturer and professionals in the industry? As lecturers are more careful relating with students, and students are more frightened moving closer to lecturers, considering their busy schedule. So I think that's the question from the student, asking from the student angle, about how can he be mentored, considering the busy schedule of the lecturer and the student being careful to relay with the lecturer.
Yeah, that's a very valid question. But as I said, it's intentionality. There will be, I tell my son and my daughters, I have one son and 3 girls, and I tell them something that rejection is a numbers game. I say, good video on that. You can check on YouTube, anyone. If you keep asking enough people, somebody will say yes. The Igbos where I come from, the Delta Igbos, they have a proverb that the man who goes around and visiting people will never go hungry, because at one point somebody will say, Ebawari, you meet us well, come and eat. Because you keep on going. But if you stay at home and you are starving, you will starve. But if you keep going and moving, distraction, motion is lotion is a very good quote. If you ask someone, he says no, then he's not supposed to be your mentor, move on. There will be one person, there will be one Professor Waba, there will be one Lajire, or one person who would hear you and even turn you into the right direction. I just came from a trip, on a road trip. We missed our way. We asked questions. The one who asks questions never goes missing. I'm a student of the Bible, and it says, seek and you shall find. He didn't say once, but seek, ask, seek, knock. It is a universal truth. So if the person is willing and asking at the right time, making it very appropriate, there will be one person. I mentioned the fact that great minds end up writing books. They don't need the money from the books. They just want to tell people how they did it. They want to pass it on. It's innate in us. And so there will be someone. There is a quote in a Chinese proverb that says, when the student is ready, the lecturer will show up. The teacher will show up. So if that heart of inquisitiveness is there, the heart, as Prof said, the heart of wanting to know, yes, you may put off one person or the other, but somebody will say, come, I will help you. I want to say something here personal. We went to one of these industrial and production engineering in those days in university association seminar with industry. In those days, they used to have people come in industry. And I heard a woman, Mrs. Jelly, speak from Sterling Winthrop back then and talk about what they do in Sterling Winthrop. I walked up to her and I asked her, Madam, I'd like to work with you and do an internship with you. She looked at me and said, are you good? I said, I'm one of the best in class. You can ask Professor Waba or Professor Lule. She laughed. She gave me her card. I ended up working for Sterling Health. So my point here is that my legs were wobbly. It wasn't easy. I was just 19 or 18. But rejection is a numbers game. I don't take it personal. Someone says no, God has someone else in store. Go and ask someone else. In fact, make it a habit to look for how many no's you will get in today, or something you look at. I want to get 10 no's. If you don't get 10 no's, then you have not succeeded. There are so much opportunities. I don't want to take our time, but I can give examples, personal and otherwise, but I think the point is made. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I call on Mr. Folabi Olusegun.
Thank you very much, Engineer Oladunni. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
So I am Engineer Afolabi Olusegun.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Engineer Michael, thank you very much. I really enjoy what you dish out today. See, what you are is an example of what our lecturers gave to us when we started. I said it before, I'm still saying it, and I will continue to say it. They sacrificed everything they had for us. And that is what we are getting now. It was not easy for them. They came newly to come and establish a very good thing to Nigeria. Unfortunately, they had a lot of enemies. And eventually, they conquered. Yes, they conquered. Their war, the war they fought, the result of how they won the war is all of us. We can't forget them. Personally, I can't forget them. Like when I used to see them, you know, as a young boy, like demigod. Today, I sit down with them one-on-one. We eat, we dine, I mean, like brothers and sisters. That's what we do now. Now, to go back to the rape point, Ejinamake, you've done very well. I'm proud of you. In fact, what you have just done today, it shows that you are a good ambassador of Nigeria as a country. Continue to do it. Don't lose hope. There are some of us who are also doing it. With what you have said, what can we do to bring this country back? Because it's sliding seriously into a gully. Now, PPP is one of the main solutions which you mentioned. I buy into it. I'm not the only person that is buying into it. I have a colleague here, I will not mention his name. He's a Nigerian. He worked in Nigeria and he moved out of Nigeria to go and create something big for himself. He's back. Come and put something back here. We are partnering together to do things. And we will also love to partner with any individual here that wants something good for this country, and we are ready to do that. However, one of the major problems that business people are having in this country, one of the major problems is the government. You want to do it right. You want to make it big. You want students to gain from what you have gained when you are young. But these government people will bring you down. Not only down, they want to get rid of you. Now, what do we do as a country, as individuals, as engineers, as industrial engineers who solve problems? What do we do? What can we do together to save the youth, the younger ones, before they slide into a gully? There are so many solutions, like we said. But if we don't come together as a unit, we will not be able to get it right. I'm going to give you a very simple example of a problem that I ran into for the past 2 weeks. It's a bank. I will not mention the bank's name. I lost interest in the bank since year 2012, when my money was stolen, 1.8 million from my account. I was too young to see things like that. And I was angry. I wasn't the only person. We were about 5 in the bank. On that day, we were shouting and everybody was, which means I wasn't the only person they did it for. So at that point in time, I made up my mind. I almost closed my account. I left about 800 naira there. Of course, they took the 800 naira. And when I came back to see whether they have changed, okay, please, I want to reactivate my account. Just to reactivate an account, it took me more than 1.5 weeks. I was frustrated. Coming every money and then closing with them. This is the bank that's supposed to save this country. If the bank of a country collapses, that country will collapse. This is the problem we're having in this country. So eventually, they were able to rectify it 2 days ago. Then I made up my mind that I am going to, all the money that I sent in there before reactivation, I want to pull them out to another bank. So now the best way for me to do it is to obtain ATM card. My dear brothers and sisters, since yesterday morning, It is this evening that they were able to give me ATM card. Every day I was going there. And they told me, oh, quickly, you can do it. Yeah, another thing I noticed is they said that ATM machine can give you money 24 hours. I got there 7:30 a.m. The ATM cannot give anything. When I went to take my lunch around 12, ATM could not give anybody anything. And this is terrible in this country. And that's the bank. Not even just a small bank, it's a big bank in this country. So Mike and all the rest, please let us look at this as a project. What can we do together? I am also ready to join people. How we can save this country, how we can save our youths so that they don't fall into all this kind of a thing. That is the question I have for you and all the how. Thank you very much.
This is a burning question from everybody. Thank you, sir, Mr. Olusegun. It's something that we all are grieved about. Those of us away and those of us at home, in Nigeria. In fact, you guys who are home and seeing it are actually more heartache, if I can say that, than those of us in diaspora. So I can feel your pain and for the basic things that should work. And this is not even the private industry. I will not claim to have any answer. In fact, I tell people that I'm one of the cowards who ran away. For those of us who start home and are making things work, like Dr. MM, who have gone back, who are doing things there, professors who are there, we are hoping that with each one of us doing our own little bit, things will change. I want to say something I said earlier. I don't have the answer, but I will leave the floor to more people who are more experienced than myself. But I used to be so frustrated with the whole thing that at one time I just tuned off. But I know that the law of increments I mentioned, if one person does something, if, for example, if I go to GTB or one of these places where I have my own contacts, we don't need that for it to happen. It should work because it's a place where it should work like a bank. But if I have one good person there, I think it adds up. And that's my own approach now. We will just find one person. There cannot be a place where I am the only honest or the only person with integrity or the only large-hearted person. That's not possible. God is generous. And we just need to form that coalition of people, identify them, people of like mind, and come together. And hopefully one of us will break through the ranks where decisions are being made, either in government or in hierarchy, or in the hierarchy of the private organizations or in schools. We just need that. It took one person to turn Singapore around. I was fortunate to visit Singapore and I cannot believe it. I've said it earlier. I remember when I was going home at 11 o'clock, my Singaporean host told me, go walk down Orchid Street. No crime, no crime. Don't worry, go home. Nobody will touch you. But it took one man, his policies, his integrity, and everybody fell in love with that. And he modeled something that changed the country. I don't have the answers, but I think each of us doing our own part will have someone in that bank, in that ministry, in that wherever you are, who will say, I will do it because this is what I want to do. I don't have the answers. I don't think it's only prayers. I'm a Christian. I know the Muslims are here too. We're all praying, but we need to do something. And as you said, there's a big gaping hole for our youth who didn't have the opportunity some of us had, and it breaks my heart. And that's something that I don't have the answer. I'll leave the floor to more experienced people to talk. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your comments and responses to today's lecture. We really appreciate everyone. I think we've gained a lot from this lecture, talking about you can learn from all. As in, you can learn from the negative, you can learn from the negative. You can learn what to do and what not to do. This lecture is really engaging, and we have been taking through the need for role model, who is a role model, how to build capacity. Case studies have been looked at, we will not have time to look into, but this video will be available on YouTube for anyone who wants to go over it again. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. At this point, another thing I would like to say, I want to join the guest lecturer to appreciate our fathers in the department for their selfless sacrifices over the years. I am a beneficiary of their selfless services and commitment to the department. We appreciate them, and we pray God will give them long life to see more goodness in the land of the living. And at this moment, and also I would like to acknowledge Professor Idowola Inka. He started this meeting with us. We really appreciate him. He's the former Vice Chancellor of the University of Ibadan. Thank you so much, sir. We are grateful. Now, at this point in time, we'll take the final remark from the guest lecturer. Final remark from the guest lecturer, maybe in 2-3 minutes, sir. A final remark.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, HOD. I want to thank everyone again, starting from Dr. Kolawole, who contacted me, has always been in contact, and we've been a very, very selfless person. And to thank Professor Victor Oladokun and all the times he took to talk to Professor Lule as well for his mentoring, and for all of you for the opportunity given me to reach back to the place that fed me and the humble beginnings that I can recall. And I pray that God will keep us alive and keep the hope alive. I want to leave us with a thought by John Maxwell. He said, for you to change something that you feel passionate about, you must be angry. But anger alone without hope is going to cause harm to you and to everybody else. So yes, like one of our guys, the last person spoke about his frustration, Mr. Folabi Olusegun, which is everyone's frustration. I would like us, while we are frustrated, to not lose hope. But hope does not make us ashamed. So we should be angry, but anger mixed with hope. There's a saying that there is no statue erected in honor of a pessimist. Can never see one statue in the world erected for someone who said, oh, we're all going to die, this place is useless. No, it's always for someone who, like Mandela, who saw hope in the midst of hopelessness and did something about it and not just talked. So I pray that God will help us all to contribute to whatever we can in goodwill, in words, in encouragement. Someone's day can be made by one good word. Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you, sir, for the final remark. Now we go to the vote of thanks that will be given by Professor Victor Oladokun. The vote of thanks.
Yes, well, I want to start by thanking God on behalf of everybody, on behalf of the department, for making today possible. We thank God. We really appreciate God. And on behalf of the department, on behalf of the head of the department, I want to thank our guest speaker. You've done very well. We are so proud of you. Thank you for your lecture, and thank you for your generous donation, to the student, to the department, and we're extremely grateful. We want to thank our chairman. We are so glad, it was around the previous meeting, and he's also here today. And one of the goal of this engagement series is to make contact, to have contact. And we are so glad that Dr. Ibrahim is now our friend on this platform. So Dr. Ibrahim, we are extremely grateful for taking out time to be part of this program. We thank the special guest of honor, one of our own engineer, Professor Adili, Director of Ibadan. We are so grateful to you for your time. Thank our former Dean, Professor Ajav, for his time and for his interest in my department. We thank all the professors who came around. Particularly, we thank our former immediate past Vice Chancellor, Professor Idowola Inka, he's a friend of the department. He's not just a formal lecturer, also a lecturer in our department. He teaches on our professional engineering management program. He teaches leadership. So he's a teacher in our department. So we thank you for your interest in our department, and we thank everybody. Particularly, I want to thank the engagement team. I want to thank all the members of the engagement team for your sacrifice, for your selfless sacrifice. I want to thank the Industrial and Production Engineering Alumni Association. We thank you all. The event for next month will be June 9, and we already have the guest speaker is also one of our alumni, engineer Adeola Soshanwo, who is the CEO of the Security Trust Fund for Ogun State. He's an engineer. As a practical politician, he's a politician. We can now bring in some of our engineers who are politicians on board now that the election is over. So he's coming to talk about SMEs in the next one. I want you to come for that particular event. Through Professor Oluleye, we'll be able to get the DG of SMEA who will share that event. So it's going to be an interesting event. So we want to thank you. So people are working underneath to make this what we are seeing happening. People are giving us contact. All of you are reaching out to us, giving us contact. We thank you. And lastly, I want to use the opportunity to remind us that we are celebrating one of our teachers this June, Professor Akambi. Professor Akambi will be celebrating his 70th birthday, and he will be retiring. I want to celebrate him. We want to celebrate his retirement. We also want to endow a very good lab in his name. We want to have Professor Akambi Systems Lab. And so, all of us, as we are preparing towards that event, I want to encourage us to participate. People are already sending papers and sending in money. So we appreciate the IPEAA. You are wonderful. On behalf of the head of department, Dr. Mrs. Bolariwa, I say thank you all for coming. Thank you for your patience and thank you for your interest. God bless you all. I wish you a wonderful night rest or good morning wherever you are, anywhere in the world. God bless you. God bless Industrial and Production Engineering, and God bless Nigeria. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, everyone. We really appreciate you joining us on this edition. Looking forward to see you next month. God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.